this is what I referred to a minute ago. It's my attempt to break down what the CBP does into useful quadrants. So there's really 4 things that you can do with it. You can change the appearance, you can change the behavior, you can change the way you interact with customers, the customer data, and then, of course, multiple service offerings, which we're going to explore. So what I'm going to do, I realize that looking at a slide deck can be quite dry. So in a minute, I'm going to go into an actual CBP so you can see a simple flow, and I'll call out some of these different elements so you know what I'm talking about. Then we'll go back into the demo so that I can more quickly show you all the features and options that I'm talking about. And then we'll go into a more complex demo later. So just by way of going around here quickly, so what do we mean by the appearance of the customer booking page? Now, you guys, if you're already BRM users and you're using the legacy online booking wizard, you'll know it's heavily customizable. And that's super popular. That's one of the things people really like about BRM. And that goes forward into the CBP. So you can change the color schemes, the launch configuration. So that's like, how does it appear when you open it up, when you first visit? Do you have dates pre-selected? Do you prompt the customer for dates? Do you guess the next dates based on the next available one as a starting point? Do you show them categories, or do you dive into some products? So you have all these configuration choices we call launch configuration. How many languages do you support? We know many of you, particularly in Europe, do have multi-language configurations, sometimes as high as sort of certainly two languages, sometimes as high as 8, 9, or 10 languages. Deep linking is an interesting one I want to call out because I think that's a pretty underused feature. You can actually deep link into a specific category within your customer booking page. So I know a lot of you have quite detailed product pages. So, you know, when it says rent our bikes, you're then presented with, you know, rent our mountain bikes, rent our road bikes, rent our gravel bikes, and you feature product, each of them. And then you quite often have a book now link. If you do that, you can actually deep link into the correct category. So if you're looking at mountain bikes, straight into the mountain bike, etc. So that's a really interesting feature. For different partner sites like the Office to Tourism, etc., then you can actually put a referral code in there, and it flows all the way through into your BRM, into the back office. So you can have multiple people selling your products for you, and you know who to attribute those sales to. Okay, so that's just giving you a flavor. We're going to dive into this in a bit more detail after the first demo. Behavior. As I said before, it's an interaction between how you want to operate your store. What kind of store are you? Are you multi-location? Are you multi-store? Do you have extras? Do you have add-ons? And how you want to present that experience to your customers. So again, that's more to do with the behavior that both your store supports and the behavioral experience you want to provide when your customers are booking. So we'll dive into that in a little bit more detail. Customer data. So really this is what I think sets BRM apart as a fantastic tool, is that we really care about getting you around the reservation lifecycle, actual bikes, actual maintenance, actual preparation, actual customers. Now you can only do that if you're capturing the right customer data at the right time. So this bit is all about configuring that. So how many questions do you ask? I've done an analysis recently of about 25 people using the CBP, and the number of questions they ask the booker varies from 5 to about 12. Now we'd recommend a smaller amount because there's less questions, less work for your customer to do. You might get some drop-offs if you have a large one, but equally, if you need data, you're like, where are they from, or how did they hear about you, their size, their address, then you need the data. So it's up to you to configure that, but that's what we're talking about, the right data. Then we have, if there's any fields that are very specific to you, you can create them as custom fields. Okay, so you can create any data you want, driving license, you name it, you can capture that. Then we move on to customer data at the item level. So let's just say you're renting high-end mountain bikes. You might want to capture the rider weight so that you can actually set up the suspension in advance. So A, that's a really interesting thing to capture. It's very specific and detailed and at the customer level. B, you don't want to ask that if they're renting a family bike or a road bike. only if it's a mountain bike, so you can set up the suspension. So it's also product specific. So again, it's that interaction between your inventory, the customer data, so that you can get exactly the right information to provide exceptional riding experiences, which starts at the booking, extends into setup, collection, and beyond, as I said. And then finally, in the customer experience, do they want to create an account with you? Are they going to be a repeat customer, or do they just want to guest checkout? And again, one of the really important benefits of the new customer booking page is that the customer can now decide that. In legacy BRM, the store had to decide account or guest checkout, but it's not really your choice. It depends on whatever your customer wants to do based on how frequently they think they'll book with you, etc., etc., etc. So we've now given that power back to the booker, which is where we believe that should be. Finally, we're going to touch on multiple service offerings. So using BRM to do rentals, repairs, tours, activities, events, appointments, even X-rental. So we'll move into that. Okay, so that's an overview of how we're going to explore this product. So let's start with a quick demo. So you should now be having a look at, this is one of our demo stores. So as I say, there's 1,000 different ways of setting this thing up. This is just one example. And I've deliberately set this up in a way that is relatively simple. So we're looking at here the major components. So anybody who doesn't really know CBP, I'm already logged in. So it tells me that I'm logged in here. I can see store information. If it's multi-language, I can see this language drop down here. But otherwise, it will automatically set to the language of the visitor. So if my browser's set to France, it'll show me the French version, etc. But that's a way that you can toggle that as the store owner. This is where you enter in your dates. I've actually, as you can see, I've pre-configured this one to auto-select the next available date. And then what we're going to do is go and have a look at an actual category. And then when you open up a category, in this case, road, I've opened up a product family, and I can now see the different sizes. So different sizes tells me the fitting range that we would be recommending. It is available, so I'm going to go ahead and add it to my basket. This is the extras. And again, not only can I define extras at the store level, but I can say which bikes each extra goes with. So that's really useful. I'm going to add some gloves in there. So there now it's added to my cart. I could add another one, but just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go ahead and check out. It's offering me insurance. So this is what we call an add-on. So it's applied rather than at the bike level, it's applied at the reservation level. Examples might be, a delivery fee, insurance, that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and book that out. Here I've only specified 5 customer details that I want to get, relatively small amount. Going to read the terms and conditions. I'm going to go ahead and book. Booking's made. I get emailed as the customer. The store gets emailed, gives me the booking reference here, and then I can return to the homepage to complete a new booking. So I just wanted to show people a demo of the types of things, what an actual CBP can look like on the more simplistic end of the scale. Just to pull out some things that I've already mentioned in the previous deck. What we're looking at here, color customization. So this kind of green, greeny blue color, that's part of the color scheme. The behavior that we get when we arrive, if I now hit refresh, it'll pre-populate the dates with the next available, or I can ask for it, or I can just leave it blank. Do I want to open up with, at the moment, I've dived straight into product within a category. So that's one way of doing it. An alternative would be to show big category cards. So I'm just calling out some of the different appearance things that you can do. When we get into the behavior things, this is, it's not high volume ad. You add 1 bike at a time. That's the way we've configured it. We do have extras set. We don't have any item data, customer data per item. We don't have that set. So just to give you a feel for the different ways in which you can set this all up. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the presentation. So that's the first part. This is a kind of simple demo, if you like, to set the scene for what a customer booking page can do. So let's dive in. So I'm going to visit these 4 quadrants with a couple of slides, 1 or 2 slides per section, just to call out some of the different things you can do to give you a flavor of the ways that this can work. So the first one is appearance. So I've already mentioned different color schemes you can set, different languages. I think there's up to 14 languages we support at the moment and growing. Coming soon, something that was available on OBW, the legacy booking page, which is very popular, is the language customization. So if we say book now, you might want to say, reserve me my bikes. You want to change the specific language within a language, the terminology, if you like. So that will be coming soon. The dates behavior, I talked about that. Do you want to pop it up? Do you want to guess it for the next available date? Do you want to just leave it blank? And do you want to show products or categories when you open? So that's just some examples. Like I say, you can also do deep linking into a particular product or category. So it's a really powerful way so that you can make it consistent with your brand and operate in the way that you want to sell your services. So part number 2, behavior. So I mentioned you're going to want to, now this again is a cross section between how you need to operate based on kind of the shop you are and what sort of experience you want to give. So let me call out a couple of examples. So anybody who's familiar with BRM already and the legacy booking page knows that we have this thing called booking slots. So if you want to, you can prescribe certain pickup times and certain durations, rental durations. Okay, so it's a specificity around the durations people can rent for, when and how long for. So that's called booking slots, and here's how it looks on the CBP. Or you might just decide to keep it simple, free form if you like, and then the customer sets 4 things: the start date, start time, return date, return time. Okay, so that's an example of different configuration choices you have. The other one is, I mentioned this before in the little demo I did a couple of minutes ago. Do you want to add one at a time, which is great if you're going to have lots of extras and maybe item level customer data, or do you want to do high volume mode? So let's just say that you're by a beach, you've got 15 or 50 beach cruisers. They're all kind of the same product, not very much customization goes on. So then you might want these clickers. Okay, so group of 5, bang, 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 5 of us, book, done. Okay, so it's all about what kind of shop you are. Moving into the next bit of behavioral configuration that you want to do. Do you offer extras? That's the first question. Most of you do, say it's around 70-75%. So for example, pedals, helmets, gloves, all this sort of thing. So you can specify them there, and during the booking experience, when they're adding to the cart or when they're in a cart, they can then customize the extras that they want. And as you know from BRM, those extras can be priced, fixed price, free, based on duration, etc. And then similarly, are you the kind of shop that has what we call add-ons? So they're like extras, but they're at the reservation level, like insurance, for example, like a delivery fee. So again, you've got these different options. The next thing is that you either are or you aren't. It's not a choice you make. Do you have multi-locations? In which case the CBP supports multiple locations in a drop down there. Payment. So we'll go into this in the secondary demo that I'm going to do shortly. Do you take payment for online booking? If so, do you take payment at 0%? So it's kind of like put your credit card down, 20%, 50%, or 100%, completely configurable and up to you. Likewise with the payment options, do you take Apple Pay, Google Pay, all of these different ways that people can pay. So again, those are examples of behavioral configurations to get it to work in the way that you want to. I didn't mention before, but forgot to do the bit about housekeeping. Please just put your questions in for later into the questions or the chat. We will then go through them at the end of the call. We'll have a short quiz for people, and then we'll go through and we'll try and tackle any questions that people have. Okay, so now I want to move on to, like I say, the crucial quadrant, which is customer data. And this is, I think, really sets us apart from some of the competition because it allows you to provide exceptional experiences. So do you want to, as I say, capture the rider weight to set up the suspension, or if it's a road bike, maybe the rider height, maybe the ABC length, set up the stem, which way around do they want the brakes? All of these can be configured as extras on a per item, and you can specify which extras go with which bikes. And once they add it to the cart, they can then tweak which extras they have. Similarly, the data that you want to collect, just like the extras, the data is dependent on the bike as well. Okay, so only ask relevant questions to people booking relevant bikes. Otherwise, it's far too annoying. And then similarly, the reservation details. How many questions do you want to ask? Like I say, between about 5 and 15 questions. You can ask as many as you like, and you can have as many custom questions as you like. The nice thing as well with BRM, just to call out quite a cool feature people might not have seen. Let's just say that you've got people booking 2 bikes and you want customer details for each bike. So rider weight and rider name for each of the 2 bikes. Well, there's only one person doing the booking. So one of them will actually be the primary booker. So we just ask them which one is doing the booking, and then they don't have to duplicate the data. What it means is that you get 2 customer records in the back end rather than 3, and go, well, hang on a minute, there's 2 riders, but someone did the booking. It automatically works that out for you. Okay, multiple service offerings. So like I say, this is very much the future of BRM. BRM is aiming to be the trusted bicycle reservation system for the industry. Therefore, we're looking at supporting every kind of reservation, not just rental anymore. This already exists, both in terms of multiple service offerings and its support in the CBP. It is kind of the beginning of the journey, as we will explore this in next week's webinar, multiple service offerings, for anyone who wants to come and have a look at that. But you already can take repair bookings if you're doing repairs and maintenance for external bikes, for example. There's a little what drop down that can appear in the customer booking page. They can choose rentals, they can choose repair, they can choose bike fits, etc. And they'll have a slightly different inventory and a slightly different experience as they go through them. So that's the 4th quadrant, if you like, representing how you can differentiate how you take your product to market. Finally, Google Analytics is super important. You know who's visiting, how well your funnel is performing, are people dropping off? We analyze this, of course, to make sure that the system's performing well for all of our customers, but you also can analyze it for your own store. So you can enter in a Google Analytics ID, or if you're a Google Tag Manager user, you can enter that in there, next to where we used to have the support for this in old BRM. So we thoroughly recommend you do that. At the moment, it's fairly rudimentary, the events that we report on, but we will be adding to them so that it's very comprehensive and people can do funnel analytics, abandoned shopping cart analysis, and all of that kind of stuff. So you can maximize your experience that you're selling and the number of bookings you're getting. Okay, so I said I was going to do a second demo that's going to explore, some more features. I can't show everything in a short demo, but what I've decided to do, as I said before, the customer booking page is really the future of online booking for BRM, and we've pretty much stopped developing the legacy system. So these are 4 features that are only on the new customer booking page. And I thought it'd be a good idea, by way of demonstrating more powerful features, I would showcase those. So we're going to talk about account management. So in legacy BRM, it was very rudimentary. When you get down to the bottom, to the end of the booking process, it's like, do you want to create an account or do you want to do guest checkout? It's much more powerful on CBP. We'll go and have a quick look at that. Percentage booking fee and tip. Now, these are 2 kinds of add-on that we have. So add-ons are like extras, but made at the reservation level. But these are 2 specific special behavior ones. So the percentage booking fee is a really powerful feature. It's actually only for the people on the UBB plan, usage-based billing plan, but I'll demonstrate it today. So what it allows you to do is put a booking fee on your reservations. You can specify what percentage you do, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10%, whatever percentage you want, like a lot of people are doing in the online travel industry, like Airbnb, Booking.com, etc. And that fee is charged as a line item on your rentals. And then it's a powerful way for you to be able to offset the charges from a platform like us, for example, so that you can charge your customers that as well, or at least pass on some of that cost. So I'll demo that to you. A lot of people requested the ability to take tips in the previous one. So I'll demo that. Again, that's a specific kind of add-on. And then finally, I know this little glitch can cause a lot of pain in existing legacy BRM. So what happens is, in this scenario, people make an online booking and then it says, great, please pay $50, and they go and get their wallet and they forget to come back for a couple of hours. Meanwhile, this is in legacy BRM. Meanwhile, the reservation is auto-cancelled because you've maybe set a 30-minute provisional timeout, and then they come and pay, not knowing that their reservation is already cancelled. So that can cause some pain, and that is fixed in CBP. So again, we can't keep supporting the old system forever, but moving forward, that is no longer a problem. So it gives you an example of the types of way in which we can bring this forward and also make the experience much better for everybody. So let me go and just change what I'm sharing, and I'll give you another demo. Okay, so you should be seeing another customer booking page. So this one is set up differently, as you can see, with more features enabled, different color scheme. You see we've got multiple service offerings, bike servicing, bike rental, for example. I'm not really going to demo that today, but just to give you an idea. So a lot of it is the same. You'll notice that we are logged in. You can have a look at my account area, and people can create an account at the BRM level, which is very useful because it means as they go around making bookings, we can offer to pre-log them in. And it's one step towards a very popular feature people have requested, which is having a customer portal so that they can actually see their past bookings and make changes. So you don't have to take all those annoying phone calls saying, hey, can I come in on Saturday instead of Friday? So it's one step closer to doing that. It's a great customer convenience. The other part about logging in is that you can leverage Google login. So you don't need to, if you've got a Google account, if your customers have a Google account, they don't need to create a new account with you with a new name and password and remember some new password. They can leverage Google SSO to be able to do that. So vastly improved customer logging in experience, which is up there as well. So the second thing I want to show you is, let's go through the booking experience. So let's pick one of these. So again, we've got the different sizes. They're all available for our date range. You can see the summary information in here, the rider spec, all that kind of stuff. You can populate all of that information. Add it to the cart. So here's an example of extras. If you're not using them on BRM, I highly recommend it. Setting the bike up. A, it's an upsell. B, it's much better customization and configuration of the bike or bikes when they arrive. Now, this is what I was talking about. It is item-specific customer data. So here we've got a mountain bike, and therefore I want to know the rider weight so I can set up and tune the suspension. So because I'm logged in, I can press this convenience button, use my data. So that's on my account. So it's just a convenience for the customer. If not, I can simply add that in. So then I've added that to the cart. So unlike the previous demo, I've done, as well as adding the bike, I've added extras and I can modify them, and I've added me user details and I can see them and modify them there. Then I go through to the next stage, and this is what I'm talking about, the booking fee. So the booking fee comes in at this part of the checkout process, and it has been configured at a 5% mandatory booking fee, which we automatically calculate. So like I say, this is a super powerful way of you guys being able to pass on some of the cost of operating an online booking platform to your customers. So let us know. It's on the UBB plan, usage-based billing. So please let us know if you're interested in that. Then I go through to the next page, and again, this is my user details. So again, I can configure exactly which questions I want to ask. I'm going to go ahead and check that and continue. So then this is the tip functionality, which has been heavily requested. So what you can do is offer this up as a special kind of reservation level extra or add-on, and you can set some suggested amounts. I'm going to use £1 or no tip, etc. I think you can even do free form if you make that available, and they can add in a tip of their choosing. So that's demoing a couple of different things. Let's have a look at the last thing. So you can see there's a timer now on new customer booking page. So this is fixing that problem about people going away, forgetting what they were doing and coming back too late. So now it will automatically time out. It warns the customer before it times out. And if it does time out, then it's auto-cancelled and they have to start again. So it fixes that problem we previously had. Again, you can set this up according to how you want to operate. Do you support Apple Pay? Do you support Google Pay, PayPal? All of these things there is very configurable in the back end. Let's just go ahead and make a booking. Got a dummy credit card here. you're given, this is a Stripe thing, you can create an account. Here I've set it up to take 50% of the payment, and then the booking has gone through. So it gives, again, it'll email me, email the bike shop. It gives me my booking references April 13. So if we now go and have a look in the back end, then here we are in the planner. We can have a look at reservations, go and have a look at those reservations recently created. And there's the booking, I believe, April 13. So the first thing to note is we've got a couple of extras, reservation level extras or add-ons. So I've got my tip in there, booking fee. Now that's your money. You the bike shop. We don't take that. That's money that you can use to offset the fees you pay us. Similarly with tip, that's your money to distribute to your staff as you wish. Then we have the documents. So let's go and have a look at the auto-generated document. So what it does is it recognizes these two things, booking fee and tips, as special behavior add-ons. Okay, so they're brought out in the line items as line items. The tax, you say which tax group they belong to, zero tax, GST, different tax. So it's all itemized, all broken out, and there's a specific experience, as you can see, that the online customer was having a look at there. So yeah, that just shows you the sort of two sides, if you like, the customer experience and then what that happens to the resulting booking in BRM as well. Okay, I think that's the end of that little bit. Let's go back to, so yeah, I've just done the second demo. So that was a bit more of a deep dive into some of the optional features that you have. Just to summarize, I tried to give you guys a flavor of all of the different ways in which you could customize and set up your different BRMs. I gave you one example at the very simple end of the spectrum, another example at the more complex end of the spectrum. But there's many more things I haven't demoed, like multi-location, delivery, discount codes, etc. So, but we can't cover everything. Hopefully that's given you a flavor. Finally, how to access. So you've probably already seen this, but in the top right of BRM, there's like a little online channels or your funnel indicator. You choose that menu, and then there's a link there to your CBP. So you can have a look at it. It can exist side by side with your existing legacy online booking. Try it out, try customizing it, and see what it looks like. And then, you know, there's access to all these pages within the CBP section, launch configuration, language configuration, all of these things. Many of them are shared with the old system. Some of them are customer CBP specific when we're bringing new functionality. So have a look at that, try it out. Let us know what you think. In a minute, we're going to do the Q&A. I'm going to start with a little quiz to ask how people are getting on with the CBP and how much interest there is. So that's it. Thanks very much for listening.